I watched this show. I'm really excited about it for a variety of reasons. Mostly because it's dealing with an elephant in the room kind of subject that hasn't really been dealt with this broadly and this boldly on television before. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about you in it.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. I do know something about you that you probably don't think I know. I was invited to see a film called Unlovable that was written by Charlize Theron, yeah?
That's right.
And I know that you guys met via Twitter.
Yeah.
In one of the episodes, there is this whole conversation about Twitter fighting. Because there can be Twitter fighting, and then there can be Twitter alliances like what you had with Charlene.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. You know, Twitter's just it's just a place and a medium. You can use it for whatever you want. It's become somewhat vitriolic and hateful, but you don't have to use it that way, you know. And it is true. I met Charlize Theron through Twitter, and we birthed this beautiful project together. And everybody should see the movie Unlovable. It's wonderful. And you know, I try to use my Twitter account the way I try to use everything else, which is what do I uniquely have to offer and why am I here? And if I'm not offering something unique and worthwhile, I shouldn't do it. I feel like if you want to cut through on Twitter, I think that positivity and porch and a gentle, kind war on asshole behavior is a nice way to do it on Twitter.
I kind of like how you stated that. That was perfectly said. I also discovered, or not discovered, but I realized that you have a tendency to be drawn towards stories that elevate really strong women. I saw you in Tully. I've seen Bombshell. I saw you in that. And now I'm watching you on the morning show. What is it about those stories that makes you want to be a part of them when it comes to elevating strong
really
women?
Sweet of you to say, and I appreciate you noticing that. It is something I've made an effort on lately, and candidly, it's something I had a little bit of a blind spot to in the early part of my career. I think that my brother and I, for a while, were making movies mostly about ourselves because we felt that most art, when you're younger, that's good is autobiographical. You tend to make movies about yourselves. And I made movies about white guys for a long time. Now I'm in a really lovely position of some kind of power or platform. So we try to use our company to not only hire female directors and persons of color and tell those kinds of stories, but performer to be a part of the morning show, to be there to support Reese and Jen's vision of what a Me Too movement show could be, and be on Bombshell and support Charlize Theron in one of her most challenging roles. You know, she had so much to do with the accent and the physicality and the makeup and the hair. She just needed someone who could be a scene partner who could really be there for her and help her put in that great performance. And I think part of that is because I have two young daughters, and so I live in a house full of women, so I've become more sensitive to that. And part of that is I read Melinda Gates' book about how empowering women really will be the center of global change, and I believe that. Yeah, I'm just trying to do my little part, basically.
You're doing a huge part. I mean, you're right. You did make a lot of movies with your brother, and it mostly did focus on white dudes. You're absolutely right about that. But this seismic shift that you're making is really powerful. And I, for one, as a woman of color, I really applaud you for doing that, because I think it's important that someone like you get behind that voice and support it like you are. So thank you for that. In the context of the morning show, there is a little bit of an ageism thing going on where they're trying to push this female anchor out. And I'm not sure really if it's an ageism thing with Jennifer Aniston's character as much as it is they're trying to get rid of the other part of the scandal. Having said that, have you as a male in Hollywood experienced any type of ageism?
I have experienced ageism, and the reality of it is that it has gone in my favor, weirdly. In my 20s, I was, for better or for worse, competing for roles of hot young male love interest, and I was not either good-looking enough or whatever enough to get those roles. And as I've gotten older and the gray hairs are coming in and I have dad energy, now there are many more roles available to me, which is crazy. I think it's real. You know, my wife is an actor and a filmmaker, and she just turned 40, and she is watching the roles diminish before her eyes of what she feels is being offered to her and what it comes her way, and I am watching them increase as a male. And I don't know if that is specific to all gender lines, but it's certainly happening in my house, and it seems unfair, and selfishly I'm happy I'm getting more work, but it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm right there with you on that one. This show seems to be very groundbreaking from what I see. It's kind of like, remember that film Network a long time ago? It feels like this century's Network, but for television. It's written really smartly. It's acted phenomenally with yourself and everybody else. And it's streaming via Apple TV, which is a new streaming service.
Yeah.
How do you think the morning show is going to change the landscape of television and streaming with this type of format? I mean, because it's a smart show.
Yeah, I don't really know. It's hard to predict. There's so much competition for shows out there, and what gets seen and what pops and what doesn't. And I basically learned that nobody knows anything, and you just have to make the best art you can and see what happens. I love when a tiny show like Fleabag cuts through and everyone sees it. That just makes me feel so wonderful. But as it pertains to the morning show, I guess the way I feel about it is that Jen and Reese did something very special with this show, which is they knew, they're smart, they're savvy. They knew if they came together and they were both on the same show, it would attract millions and millions of viewers because of their star power. They could have chosen a more easy subject that would have been inviting of a lot more viewers, but they chose a really difficult subject, as you said, to make the show about, and they leveraged their star power to get people there, and I just think that's fucking cool.
It is cool. I want to ask you about this one scene that you had with Reese. She's come in for an interview with you, and she's kind of popping off to you about your name and how it sounds like an ice cream flavor. That scene felt like some of it was improv and some of it was scripted.
Yeah, a lot of that was on the page. The writing is great. I can't take credit for it, but I will say I remember in that scene particularly, once Reese and I started overlapping all over each other, a couple of new things came out and gave it the energy of a real fight. You're often on set, and the sound recordist will always say, please don't overlap your dialogue, And my thing is always like, no, you have to overlap it. It makes it feel real. And so definitely what you see there is more of the nitty-gritty stuff, and there's definitely a little improv going on there, and Reese is, she's just great when it comes to that stuff.
But Mark, thank you so much for talking to me. I appreciate you taking the time. This was great, and I'm really looking forward to how the show plays out in the long run.
Well, I appreciate your thoughtful questions and your interest in the show, so thanks for the support.
My pleasure. Take care.